Crimson and Blue Chips family, welcome in. Welcome into a Football Friday fun edition of Crimson and Blue Chips. I'm your host, John Garcia Jr. Producer Kev is alongside, and we've got a lot to talk about, ladies and gentlemen. Just 24, well, really 30 or so plus hours away from Alabama at LSU. Top 5 matchup, a ton of buildup, maybe more than necessary buildup, I think at this point, but still some new items to discuss over the last 24 hours since we last came to you on Wednesday. So let's, I guess, jump right into it. Kev, the first thing that has really stuck with me through this Alabama LSU buildup is Nick Saban and how he has handled things. He is relaxed. He is laid back. He is confident, publicly confident, I should say, because he's always confident. And he's stunting on people, man. On Thursday night, they asked him, "Hey, if you win the coin toss," it was a fan question. If you win the coin toss, will you receive or defer to the second half? And he says, "I hope we kick ass." That's what he said. We elect to kick ass instead. I don't know. It feels different from Nick. How do you kind of digest that? Is this gamesmanship? Is he really excited for this game? And or does he just feel like he's gonna roll into Baton Rouge and have an easier game than a lot of television executives would hope for?
Yeah, I love it. Like, I think it's awesome. You get to see him kind of let loose a little bit. I think, it's one of those things where it's different. It's a different side of Nick that we don't get to see all the time, and because he usually plays things so close to the cuff. And I think it was funny. I think it's gamesmanship. I think it's build up to the game, and another return to Baton Rouge for him, and he's had great success returning to Baton Rouge so far. And it's one of those things where if I'm a player, like, hey, coach wants to kick ass, like, let's go for it, man. Like, I'm pumped. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, and Nick, obviously this came via his Thursday evening show, Hey Coach. I don't know if they still call it Hey Coach. I don't listen to it. But our buddy Charlie Potter, who's a friend of the show, Bama Online, he's been on with us before. He tweeted it out, and it kind of went viral, that Nick Saban quote. And this isn't the only thing he's done to kind of stunt this week. Coming off the bye week, first press conference of the week, he said that things went well. He was smiling. He was relaxed. It made everyone in Tuscaloosa on the media side of the coin, people who are around that man every day, take a step back and say, hey, this thing might get out of hand. And obviously that's relatively speaking. Nobody's expecting Alabama to put up 60 on LSU, but there is a public confidence and swagger about Nick this week. Maybe, I don't know, maybe he just likes playing LSU. Maybe this is his biggest rivalry. If you ask Alabama fans who's their top rival, you'll get some Tennessee answers, especially from the older crowd. You'll, of course, get a ton of Auburn, maybe some LSU sprinkled in, but obviously there's such a personal connection there with Nick that you wonder if this is the game that he gets up most for. I know he likes beating up his former assistant coaches, but it really, at least this week, seems like he's having a good time beating up on LSU. Kev, there were some updates health-wise, more importantly than Nick's swagger. There were some updates health-wise on a couple of key guys. Probably the best news here, and definitely the best news for most of you watching, Tua is good. There's no new updates. There is no setbacks. And today's a walkthrough, so he will start the game. He will be without limitation, and he's even talked about not needing to wear that knee brace. The medical staff wants it as a precaution, which you see often. So that's still the most important news, but it looks like Bama's got good news elsewhere offensively.
Definitely. I don't know if I'm staff, I'm trying to, I guess, talk Tua into wearing the knee brace. Just precautionary. I mean, we wore knee braces precautionary. I know it's a whole different thing, but if you got a knee issue, I'd kind of like to see the knee brace just for precaution's sake. But yes, other than that, Devontae Smith is, according to Nick Saban, as 100% as he could be. And Jalen is, the ankle is still not 100%. He is throwing and stuff like that, but not going through contact and stuff like that. So being a walkthrough, I'm sure he's taking reps, but he's not done the contact side of practice this week. But he has been throwing and that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, I mean, how much contact would he have anyway, right? You know, so
exactly,
that's
yeah. So I mean, we're deep into the season now. Contact's not a big issue.
yeah, I agree. So, pretty much ideal news for Alabama at this point of the week. I mean, this is the end. This is the end of the week. Obviously, tomorrow night is that time. Again, the spread 14.5. The last I saw, Kev, has it moved at all today? I know
Not
yesterday when we picked games, it was 14.5. Is it still there?
when we picked our games, yeah, it was 14 and a half, and it is still sitting at 14 and a half.
Yeah, so anything under 17 wasn't going to scare me this week. Now those 30-point SEC spreads really scared me. These aren't. I think we took a closer look at it. I know your website crimsonandbluechips.com. By the way, y'all check it out. Producer Kev, Bama fan Dave. There's more contributors coming. They got some fun and funny content. I saw the Landon Collins flashback Friday story. That never gets old this week. It can pretty much, you could just copy and paste that next year, and we'll look forward to watching it
Yeah,
and
it was
reading about it
something
again.
that it was something I enjoyed writing. Also, I can't, like, me and you talked about it, and I can't believe that I had never seen that. But I also wasn't in the recruiting world and stuff like that like I am now. But in the age of social media, I still can't believe that I missed that reaction to Landon Collins's commitment. And so yeah, if you haven't, go check it out, crimsonandbluechips.com. And we got a bunch of stuff up. We put our picks up today. We put the Landon Collins flashback up today, and there's a bunch of other good stuff on there for you.
Yeah, I got to participate in the picks, which is cool because nobody at 24/7 cares about my picks. So got to participate in the CABC picks like we do on the show each and every week anyway. Picked SEC games and a couple of national games. So those guys are going to track yours truly, Kev and Dave, throughout the rest of the season now that their site is launched, and we'll probably have some sort of prize for the winner, and then the loser. I don't know. Y'all submit things, and we'll vote on the funniest thing to punish Mr. Third Place there with. So the picks are up there. Y'all can check it out. I retweeted it from my account, Crimson and Blue Chips' Twitter. All of that stuff is there. But obviously, Alabama-LSU is why you're here. We all picked Alabama. Spoiler alert. But like I said, if it's under 17, I'm good. I'm good. And I looked at the numbers before making the picks for you, Kev, on the site, and Alabama's offense is astronomical. We don't really have to talk about that. And we just updated the health of key guys. So that's, again, what is the conversation there? There is no conversation.
No.
That's even before you get to Devin White. But on the other side, that's where we talked about this a little bit Wednesday. That's where there hasn't been enough talk. Everyone's going into it like Alabama's strength is its offense. LSU's strength is its defense. Something's got to give, that corny ass classic build-up line. But nah, Alabama's defense is ranked higher than LSU's everywhere across the board, except for points per game, where it's a .8 advantage for LSU. And again, you got to think of the garbage time that Alabama has enjoyed with its reserves on the field, leading to points against Missouri, against Texas A&M, against everybody. Basically, those reserves have been more vulnerable than the starters, which is what you would expect. So even with that, it's a .8 difference. 15.9 points per game given up for Alabama, and LSU's given up 15.1. But run defense, pass defense, sacks, everything but interceptions and points per game, Alabama is not only ahead of LSU, but strongly ahead. of LSU defensively, and Alabama's at full strength defensively in this game, minus Trevon Diggs. LSU again without Devin White. So I just that whole lazy narrative is just that. It's very lazy, and I think we get lost in tracking this game because of recent history, right? Oh, this game, the 9-6 game that everybody remembers from several years ago, the national championship game that was a defensive struggle. All of that stuff is still ingrained in our brain, but this is 2018. This is a different matchup, and I think we get sucked into that vortex of precedent with colleges, and it's really dumb. You should actually do it more in the NFL and other sports than college football because there's so much turnover every year. I mean, how different does this Alabama team feel this year compared to last? It's like night and day. The whole secondary is retooled. There's emerging new stars in that front seven, like Quinnen Williams. Isaiah Buggs has taken his game to the next level. And then offensively, new quarterback, new receivers, different cast of running backs, an emerging tight end, reshuffled offensive line. It's two different teams. Two different teams. So don't get sucked into that vortex and overthink it. This is 2018. Focus on this year. And when you do that, 14 and a half doesn't scare me. I think people get sucked into that vortex. They think it's the 9-6 teams and two great defenses and mediocre offenses. None of that applies. And also this Death Valley factor. Look, road games matter. They do create an advantage, but at the same time, they create an oomph, an emphasis, a chip on the shoulder for that road team. And Bama has dealt with that forever, including that national championship game, 10 months ago now, where it was a road game pretty much, and you threw in a freshman quarterback and he happened to bring you back and you won it. So again, Bama not tested. Bama hasn't done it on the road. They did it at Kyle Field. This won't be that much different, in my opinion. So tell you Kyle Field is more raucous than Death Valley. Some people, I can't confirm, but some people will tell you that. So those are just some of the, I guess, things that came on my mind when picking Alabama and easily picking Alabama this week. Everything points to this decision. Kev, I know you picked the Tide as well. What went into your decision? Was it that easy? What were kind of your key points in rolling with the Tide minus 14.5?
It wasn't that hard for me to choose this game. I looked at it as far as offense versus defense for both sides. You can check out that. That's also on crimsonandbluechips.com. Shameless plug. But no, I thought that Alabama's offense is just, I feel, you said it's on another level right now. And I just think that this isn't a typical LSU defense, like you said. The lack of elite pass rush, edge rush for LSU is not there. The stout interior is not there. There's no big guy up in the middle like there usually is for LSU, and I feel like linebacker is their point of strength. But this week, of course, they're without their star linebacker Devin White for the first half.
That's a good point.
Due to the targeting penalty. So there you go. And we're talking the number one first half offense in the country, let alone, I mean, you know, they're averaging, I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, and I would have to look it up, but I mean, they're the number one scoring offense in the first half.
It's like 30, 38, 39 points a game in the first half.
Yeah.
Has LSU gotten to 38 this year?
I don't think so, but
maybe in a mop-up game.
Yeah, but you know, I saw the numbers in a couple last week before the bye week, and Alabama's first half offense was the third ranked scoring offense in the SEC. Behind
LSU has gotten above 38 points once. They got to 38 against La Tech. They got to 45 against Ole Miss, which doesn't count anyway. So basically, they never got there.
The high school that I used to coach at could score 21 points against Ole Miss. So that doesn't really impress me at all either. So yeah, that and then the lack of not that they don't have elite secondary because we all know Greedy Williams is one of the top corners in the country, but we're used to that LSU defensive backfield being more than just one guy.
Yeah,
Um,
remember when the Honey Badger was the freaking nickelback? I
yeah,
mean,
I
that
mean,
was, that
yeah,
was
like
ridiculous.
yeah, Patrick Peterson, Honey Badger, like I mean, you got him playing in the slot, like that's just not fair. Like
Coming off the edge and just creating havoc, man. Grant Delpit is a boss at safety.
yeah,
And Greedy's great, but again, I think Christian Fulton. And again, you're talking about if Bama goes 4 wide, even if they don't, if they go 3 wide and you got Irv there, hello, who's covering these people?
yeah, you're talking about matchup mismatches across the board almost.
Yeah,
So I mean, you have one that's going to be shut like pretty much shut down and Greedy, who you're going to take away. Okay, you're going to take away one receiver. Take away one receiver. You still got three other receivers plus Irv Smith. Who are you going to put on those guys?
yeah. I mean, sometimes it's really simple. Even if LSU can stop the run, Bama has shown us multiple times to the disappointment of old school Bama fans that hey, if y'all want to make us throw the ball, okay, we'll do it. We got a lefty, he's pretty good. We'll throw it. We'll throw it all around the yard. I don't think that happens in this game. I think it's more of a balanced approach, especially with Devin White not out there. That's something few are talking about. The running game could go off in this game. LSU's starting defensive line is very good, but one, they've been banged up, and two, not a lot of depth behind them. They're actually similar to Alabama there up front. Elite upperclassmen on the field. Beyond that, not a lot of experience and or elite talent right now. So again, if Bama can actually get any kind of running game going, and remember, Florida ran all over LSU. So I just again, you can pick any category and it just doesn't feel like LSU can hang within double digits, within 10 points, unless Tua starts turning the ball over or chaos happens, they bust one early. But again, we've seen some of those things this year. Bama has turned the ball over a little bit. Ole Miss scored in the first play of the game, and that was the end of their momentum. So it's just the more we look into it, the more days that go by in these 2 weeks leading up to this game, I think it's become clearer for Alabama as opposed to more complex and confusing, like we can kind of see happening with other big games like bowl season. There's so much time in between that last game and the bowl game or the playoff, and you overanalyze it and you get a little confused. I know we were kind of there last year before Bama Clemson, and that game ended up being really close anyway. Same thing for Bama Georgia, but this doesn't feel like that. This doesn't feel like you don't get that confusion at any point. So I'm just excited to actually watch this thing. I'm tired of the buildup, frankly, but yeah. So we both feel good about Alabama covering, and I think that's becoming the popular pick. So I wonder why it moved so much and it went down. It was at 15. Now it's down and almost locked in at 14 and a half, and that's surprising to me. I was scared Vegas was going to bump it up to 17. That's what I was scared of, but
They bump it up to 17. I don't feel good about.
right, because yeah, you talk about two scores, but now you're talking two scores and a field goal, and then
Mhm.
you start thinking of all those other elements that we usually overanalyze. So, thank you Vegas for not letting us get to that point. All right, so that's the end of Alabama LSU talk. Again, our picks are on crimsonandbluechips.com. They'll be there and tracked throughout the year. Again, all the SEC picks, some big national games this week as well. West Virginia, Texas is huge. Obviously, Georgia, Kentucky, pretty big. Penn State, Michigan this weekend. So there's a lot of big games. We picked all of them against the spread, so you can make some fake money along the way with our guys and laugh at us when we're wrong. So,
Yep.
all right, where are we going next?
Did you want to run down your on picks, or we can move to
We can go quickly if you'd like.
Yeah, I mean, we can just do real quick. The Pitt Virginia game, I picked Virginia. You picked Virginia. Dave picked Pitt. Texas A&M Auburn. You two picked Auburn. I picked A&M. Louisville at Clemson. We all picked Clemson. Ohio State, Nebraska. You two picked Ohio State, and I picked Nebraska. I feel like Nebraska might have something might be there. I don't know. Maybe I just don't like Ohio State.
Big spread, man. Big spread.
Yeah, it's -18. So
yeah,
I picked Nebraska.
Yeah, again, these are against the spread, by the way. So,
yeah. I picked Nebraska because I felt like it's not an 18-point game. Hopefully,
Nebraska's terrible, bro.
Don't count them out yet. Georgia -9 at Kentucky. I picked Kentucky. You guys picked Georgia. And West Virginia, Texas. Texas -2. You picked Texas, and me and Dave picked West Virginia.
Hey, man, Tom Herman's my coach of the year, so I got to ride with him.
Well, Dana Holgerson's my coach of the year, so
let the best coach win.
Will Greer's my Heisman. Michigan, Penn State. Michigan -10.5. I picked Michigan. You guys picked Penn State. Florida, Missouri -6. Florida. You picked Florida. Dave picked Florida, and I picked Mizzou.
Big spread there too.
Yeah.
If it was at Mizzou, I would have flipped it, but at Florida, coming off of really an embarrassment, I think they shut Drew Lock down a little bit, and it's a low scoring, kind of ugly game that I probably won't watch.
Yeah, me either. Old Miss, South Carolina, even. Me and Dave picked South Carolina. You picked Old Miss. And Florida State, NC State. You two picked Florida State, and I picked NC State because it's in Raleigh, and Florida State doesn't have a great record in Raleigh. So
9 points, though. NC State hadn't looked good in the last couple of weeks. 9 points is strong.
But they usually take care of it.
Look at me betting on FSU with fake money.
With fake money.
Damn sure won't do it with real money. So.
No, thank you.
All right. So those are our Week 10 college football picks. Again, full rundown of picks, explanations, all of that. CrimsonandBlueChips.com with the fellas. So you got your Saban fix. You got your final thoughts on Alabama-LSU, including where to bet. Let's go. Should we go to the high school level? Because there is a big game in the state of Alabama.
There's a big game going on in the state of Alabama tonight, and there's a lot of Bama implications in this game, or what could be Bama implications.
Now you could just say they're Bama implications.
They're Bama implications. So IMG's traveling to Birmingham to take on Hoover. I don't know. There's a clip of social media. They got a police escort from the airport to Birmingham.
Because IMG, that's why.
Because it's IMG, and why not? So IMG is playing Hoover, and there's a lot of big name Bama targets that are going to be playing. You got Evan Neal, Trey Sanders. Obviously, they're trying to make a push maybe for George Pickens. So Will Reichert, Alabama commit, #1 kicker in the country. If you guys want to see the future of Alabama kicking, you should tune into that. And we have been told from kicking expert Chris Saylor that he is a Justin Tucker-ish kicker. So
yeah, that's ridiculous. Like, go click on that on YouTube one more time, because every time Bama misses a field goal, I keep telling people, Will Reichert, and they're like, yeah, but the other guys were ranked high too. But yeah, nobody was comparing these other guys to freaking Justin Tucker. Future Hall of Famer Justin Tucker.
Yeah, I mean, we talked to Chris Taylor himself, and we had him on the pod a while back. So if you want to, go click on it. He can hear his lofty predictions for Will Reichert. I mean, compared him to Justin Tucker. I mean,
and he can punt.
Yeah, and he can punt. He had nothing but amazing things to say about the kid. It's up there on our YouTube channel. Go check it out. we'll put the link in the description if you can't find it. That way you can find it easier. So, but yeah, those guys are going to be playing tonight, and I don't know. Hoover's the power in the state, but I mean, IMG's lost one game program history. So
Yeah, I think IMG's it's not the same IMG we saw with Shea Patterson or Kellen Mond, Bo Scarborough, those guys. It's a different IMG in that they want to run the football and they're not as consistent throwing the football. They've got David Baldwin, the lefty QB, and Grayson Lucero, who's committed to UAB, another Birmingham connection there. But neither guy has had a great year. They've had moments, but neither guy's had a great year, despite a really good receiver core with Josh Delgado, the Oregon commit, Michael Redding, who's a 2020 kid getting P5 offers like every day, it seems like every IMG guy. So they should be a little more efficient throwing the ball, but they're not. And conversely, Hoover's got a good secondary. I think that's the strength of the Hoover defense, which is part of the reason they beat Thompson to secure that region of death in Birmingham this year. But Hoover's front seven is not your typical front seven. So you see there's kind of strengths versus weaknesses here. There's not a clear-cut SEC dude in that front seven. And you're going against an offensive line with Evan Neal, FSU commitment Dante Lucas. They've got other Power 5 commits on that O-line, all but one guy's Power 5 guy. And then obviously we know what they have at running back with Trey Sanders and Noah Cain as the change of pace there. So if I'm Hoover or if I'm IMG, I'm running it down Hoover's throat. But when Hoover has the football, they've got dynamic dudes on offense. That is where Hoover matches up okay. Now, IMG is much more of a defensive team this year, and we know about Nolan Smith coming off the edge and good players at every level. But I think Hoover can score some points with these guys. If you contain Nolan, keep him off of Robbie Ashford, the 2020 dual threat, he's going to have a chance to get the ball to George Pickens. And they've got some other receivers as well. I like the MJ Rogers kid. And they've got good running backs, multiple backs. There's a young back they have that'll be an SEC guy. And Larry McCammon, their top back, is a Power 5 guy. He's got offers from Iowa, Ole Miss, schools like that. So he's kind of a classic Big Ten type running back, like Hoover has liked to use over the years. So they have a chance to score points on this IMG defense. But conversely, can Hoover slow down that rushing attack without dudes in that front seven? And again, we're talking about as prospects. Obviously, Hoover won the region again, and they're the favorites to win state again. So they're a good football team through and through. But if we're talking about prospect-wise, not as Hoovery, if that makes sense, in that front seven. There's no Darrell Williams, who's now at Auburn. There's no Jeremiah Moon, who's now at Florida. There aren't guys like that. Nick Curtis is a good player at linebacker. They got a couple good high school D linemen, but it's just not the same Hoover front seven. At the back end, they're okay. But the front seven, I wonder how they're going to combat this IMG rushing attack. So if I'm the Ascenders running it all day long with Trey and with Noah Cain. And that's kind of the other interesting part of this game. A lot of Alabama targets right down the road. So you wonder, even though Bama's going to be headed to Baton Rouge, I would assume any minute now, you wonder if a couple of staff members hang back just in case one Trey or Evan or maybe Nolan or some of these other guys decide to take the old trip. I would assume Will Reichard would be more than willing to take them on over because IMG season ends tonight. There are no playoffs for those guys. So there's not as much obligation there physically anymore. So you just wonder, we've seen things like this happen in the past. We've seen Bama host official visitors during SEC championship game weekend when they aren't even in Tuscaloosa. Now this is obviously be a smaller sample because we know all three of those 5 stars are visiting for the Iron Bowl officially later this month. Bama would not hate it if they decided to check out Tuscaloosa on Saturday. Trey Sanders has already confirmed that he's not going to be in Baton Rouge for the game on Saturday. So maybe his next best option is to watch it in Tuscaloosa. Kev, IMG at Hoover. What are you looking for? Are you going to be tuned in?
Yeah, I'll probably be tuned into that game just because I love good football and
It's on ESPN
it's on ESPN.
or
So I
one of
mean,
the ESPNs. I don't know which one.
it's on ESPNU, I believe. So I love good football, and anytime you get to see teams of this caliber play each other at the high school level, you always like to tune in. Just like tuned in to watch Thompson and Hewitt last week. You know, especially with the Hoover team. I don't know why, but for some reason the Hoover I always seem to gravitate towards watching Hoover. I don't know if it's just because of the memories of watching two-a-days and Russ Russ Probst out there running NASCAR offense and all that stuff before he moved on to Georgia. But yeah, it's I'm looking forward to it. I definitely want to see because I haven't gotten a chance to see Trey and Evan actually, in person. So I mean, this will be the closest I get to see to them in person. So I'm looking forward to watching them. And then
I sense a shameless plug coming to your site there after you watch this.
Oh, I mean, I'm sure I'll come up with something to turn into.
Might be an offensive lineman to watch a little bit.
Yeah, so
I wonder if Bama will have any assistants kind of stay back and
I would imagine that there's going to be at least one Bama assistant.
Get that private jet status up,
Yeah, I mean, because we all know that Nick's not opposed to using helicopters and private jets and stuff like that. So I'd imagine somebody will be there. I imagine it might be. Well, I'm not going to speculate on who it'll be, but I'm pretty sure somebody will be there. So it'll be a good game. Looking forward to it, and we'll see what the Bama targets can do. Like I said, Trey and Evan are the two that I'm really looking forward to seeing as far as actually getting a chance to watch them play a full game and not just watching some highlights and stuff that you've cut up and sent to me. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to Robbie Ashford, man. I think
I do. Yes, I like Robbie Ashford. I liked him. I watched their opening game of the football season this year, and he looked really good. Obviously, dual threat, multi-sport guy. He can throw the ball. He's got Big George Pickens to throw to and some other good receivers. So he's an intriguing one to say the least.
Yeah, this will easily be the best defense he faces all year. So let's see how mobile he is. If Nolan Smith
probably his whole high school career.
Well, yeah. If Nolan Smith is screaming off the edge, let's see how he reacts to that. That's it's the best player in the country, in my opinion. I've said that for a year and a half now. That's the guy. So yeah, so now we'll be able to see that on full display at the Hoover Met for the second year in a row. IMG loves playing at Hoover because it's a former AAA baseball stadium. It's enclosed. It's big. It's pretty cool. So good.
It's where the Barons used to play, right?
Yeah. That's where the Barons used to play before they got Regions Field, and it's when I was living in Homewood. This was 2012-ish, something like that. So Hoover loves going up there. They can afford it, in case you didn't realize that. And yeah,
talking about a trip to Alabama when they fly to California. So.
Like they flew to California like 3 times last year.
Yeah.
So this is not a big deal for them. So they enjoy playing there. It's good competition. Josh Niblett and Hoover always present a challenge, even for the IMGs of the world. And this was the game last year where George Pickens went from regional recruit to national recruit. This was what kind of spurred that. Other people across the country saw what he could do against, a better IMG secondary than they have this year. So George, I think, we'll be able to get loose a couple of times tonight and remind everybody why he's so coveted and is going to be a story all the way until National Signing Day. So I'm keeping an eye on Robbie Ashford. I think this is a big test for him. But I think that they can score some points against IMG. But I do think IMG's running game will control the clock. and be a little bit too much for Hoover to handle. And I'm going to predict somewhere in the neighborhood of 31-20. IMG over Hoover. Will Reichard will hit some crazy long 48-yarder and get people excited in the loss. But it's one of those where everybody will have their moments, but IMG will just be a little too deep in the end. What did I say? 31-20? Yeah, I'm all right with that. Kev, you got a prediction or kind of a way you see this thing going? Just since we're on a prediction kind of train today.
Definitely think IMG comes out victorious and 38-14, 38-14, 38-17. Reichard hits a field goal somewhere.
You got to get that Reichard field goal in
yeah,
there.
we gotta give Bama fans some hope with the kicking game. So hopefully we'll get a Reichard field goal out of there.
Absolutely. If not, he'll have at least one touchback because even if they get shut out, he's got to kick it off once.
Yeah, he's got to kick off at least one time. So
no, he'll have a few kickoffs, and they most likely will all be touchbacks.
You'll see it. You'll see him kicking good field goals from kickoffs.
Yeah, pretty much. And if not, Trey Sanders gets to get a few extra touches. So win-win for Bama fans there. So
yep.
Yeah. All right, man. Let's jump to Q&A. What do we got in the live thread? We got anything on social? We haven't checked the email in a while. Been pretty.
Yeah. So we got a couple in the live chat just talking some stuff.
It's usually what happens.
Yeah, I know stuff. So, well, somebody asked, was FSU going to show up this week? And I don't know.
They'll be there.
Physically. I mean, they'll be in Raleigh, but
are they going to start? I don't know if I heard that James Blackman might get some love.
No, really?
I don't know where I heard that. I hope they do. Get the other guy in there.
Give the kid.
Speaking of IMG, I just don't know. At this point, you know what DeAndre Francois is. You know.
Yeah, what else do you have to
Yeah.
As watching college football and watching games, I watched I watched them play and it just looked painful. I mean, I don't know what it was about it, but DeAndre Francois just didn't look like the DeAndre Francois that beat Ole Miss and had that good season before the ACL
2 years ago. Yeah, I mean, you know what you got at this point. You're 2+ years in, so go with the other guy. Same thing for Miami. Go with the other guy. Go with the young guy. Jaron Williams, man. What are you doing?
Yeah, stop going back to Malik Rozier.
I mean, he's a Bama boy, and I'm proud of him. Mobile, Faith Academy, stand up. But beyond that, no.
Yeah, I mean, what else? Yeah, you know what you got. So, IMG or Bishop Gorman? Who do you got?
I mean, is this Tate Martell? Bishop
Gorman? Yeah, I was about to say, are we talking about Tate Martell's Bishop Gorman that didn't lose a game in 42 games or something like that? If we're talking about this year's Bishop Gorman, obviously IMG. But if we're talking about Tate Martell's Bishop Gorman, maybe.
It'd be fun to do an all-time IMG team versus an all-time Gorman team. So DeMarco Murray is there, and Bo Scarborough's there for IMG.
Well, you're obviously
for Bishop.
Gorman's going to have the advantage when it comes to quarterback because there's one thing IMG seems to not be able
to.
Shea
Patterson, man. What's up?
Okay, Shea. I forget it. I always forget Shea went there for his senior year. You're right, Shea.
Man. They got the kid who's starting at Minnesota.
I know they have all these Power 5 quarterbacks, but look at one's at Minnesota, one's at Rutgers.
One's at Rutgers with the funniest stat lines every week. Man.
I swear they got somebody in the football office that they're paying to just find these obscure stats that they can put out there because some of these have been really comical that I've seen, and obviously they're not winning games, and they're just a hot ball of hot fire right now. I just don't know what to think about that. I mean, they're a Power 5 team, but they probably should think about maybe going group of 6. Or
Kansas is better. That's all you got to say. Kansas is markedly better.
Can we just take like Kansas and Rutgers and let's see. Well, I can't even say them anymore.
Get Boise in a P5 conference or
Oh boy,
UCF.
they like
UCF didn't look good last night though.
They didn't look good, but
Their helmets look good.
Their uniforms look good. Check. There's gonna be They'll probably make my list on that. Shameless plug. And then
shameless plug podcast continue.
So, but yeah, going into back to the chat. Brace or no brace? What will it mean to his speed and ability to escape the rush and even be a dual threat if needed?
That's all you, buddy.
Yeah, there's obviously gonna be some differences in mobility and speed with a brace on, but it's not gonna be. Oh, he went from. I'm not gonna say that it's not gonna be. Oh, the guy went from running a 4.3 to now he runs a 4.8. Like you're not gonna see that kind of difference. Not saying Tua runs a 4.3, but you're not gonna see that big of a difference. I think these braces nowadays are made out of such lightweight material and they're custom fitted to each player. So you're not going to see that big of a difference. I mean, obviously, if he wears the brace, he'll be a little slower, a little less agile, but it shouldn't be anything major of a major concern. And yeah, so it shouldn't really matter that much about a brace. I know we had a Twitter question.
Twitter.
Our friend Carl Linsner asked, "How firm is the commitment of George Pickens and Akeem Dent?"
Okay, George Pickens not firm. He well, I mean, look, the kid made a bunch of visits. He blew up early, committed to Auburn early, and has become more coveted. We just talked about it. This was the game last year where he hit a higher level, and they played earlier in the year. It wasn't last game of the year, if I remember. So for literally the last year plus, Pickens has become a priority for Alabama and Michigan and Georgia and Florida State, you name it. That he's become a higher priority for those guys. So naturally, yeah, he's going to take more visits and kind of do the recruiting process a little bit backwards. But he is committed to Auburn right now. There are a ton of connections there. We've got over them a million times with his brother and Chip Lindsey and Gus, Bo Nix, all of those things. That said, long way until February. 3 months until signing day at this point. So a lot can be determined at that time. I think he'll take visits. I think Bama's a threat to get him back on campus. LSU is supposedly in it now. There's a lot of schools vying for Pickens on campus, and I think he begins to take a lot of trips, especially once the season ends for Hoover in a couple of weeks, presumably in another state title game, which would actually be at Auburn this year, by the way. So that's first week of December. So after that point, again, he's not signing early. So after that point, things can get really dramatic for George Pickens. And I think once that early signing period passes us by and teams know how many spots are really left, you're going to see that dialed way up for George Pickens. The heat, the drama, whatever. It's going to hit an apex in January leading into February. That will be really fun to see. I wonder how he's going to react to that. And you wonder how Auburn's season plays out these last few games because, look, if he's a wide receiver, he's not shy about wanting the football. So you wonder how it will look. And that starts tomorrow against Texas A&M, which has a good defense. So we'll see how Auburn adjusts on field in an attempt to keep Pickens off of the field. And then Akeem Dent, 5-star FSU commit from Palm Beach County, Florida. He has taken visits as well. The difference is that every time he speaks, he says all of the right things about Florida State. I do think he's a guy who feels like he could be a part of the turnaround that FSU would have to have because they can't get much worse. So he feels like he can be a part of that. different set of suitors for Dent. Alabama, probably the top threat. Miami has gotten him on campus of late. There's some other schools still in it, but it's a smaller pool than what Pickens is dealing with. So I think that one's a little clearer at this point. I think it's a coin flip between FSU and maybe Bama, with Miami third, and that's kind of it. With Pickens, it's not a coin flip. It's not 50-50. There's a lot of teams in it. He's set up visits to Michigan that he didn't take. He's talking about taking officials to Oregon that he wants to take, and then Georgia, Bama, Miami, LSU, as we said. So there's a lot to be said and determined with Pickens. So that one is much more vague and unknown. And he didn't talk much regardless, pro or for these other pro Auburn or for these other teams in the mix. So he kind of spur of the moment kind of kid. I wonder if somebody in Birmingham will speak to him this evening. But either way, I don't think we'll get clarity from George himself until we get much closer to the new year. Akeem Dent, a little bit more simple. He's still deciding if he's signing early, so I think that could be a key for FSU. Obviously, they want to sign him early, but Alabama's pressing. There's no doubt about that one. I would say he's a little bit more likely in Bama's class at this point than Pickens, only because there's still so much time and twists and turns upcoming with George.
Definitely, and George is going to be that kid that takes all of his visits, and he's going to go to, I mean, let's be honest. You're taking official visits, and he's going to take official visits to places he knows he's not going to go. I mean, if he takes an official to Oregon,
he ain't going to Michigan or Oregon.
If he's taking an official to Michigan and Oregon, like, let's be honest, like, George Pickens is probably not going to Oregon or Michigan. But if he takes officials, I mean, I don't see him not taking those officials, because if I had 5 officials, I'm taking all 5 of them too. But
right.
So he's gonna go to the very end with it, and he's gonna take all of his visits, and he's gonna flirt with teams. He's gonna be one of those guys that, there might even be 2 or 3 schools that are like on signing day expecting to get a letter from him, and then all of a sudden team 3 gets a letter. So who knows with that kid. But I definitely think he's going to go right down to the very end. He's going to take all of his visits, and I think we won't know where he's going until he actually signs a letter.
Anything else for us in the chat there, producer Kev?
No.
Or Twitter or anything else?
Nothing in the live chat, and I haven't seen anything else on Twitter or on. I'm just double checking Instagram. No Instagrams, and
works for me.
Works for me too.
All right, we'll get you on your way this weekend. Thank you, Kev. Again, check out their site, crimsonandbluechips.com. My picks are on there and will remain on there for the rest of the 2018 football season. We've all got Bama minus 14.5 against LSU. They've got some fun and funky stories up on that site, so definitely give them a shout. Enjoy the weekend. We'll see what Saturday night in Death Valley is really all about soon enough, and then we can not worry about that buildup, which is what I'm looking forward to. So Hoover IMG tonight, ESPNU. Check that out. We will be doing so as well. Safe travels if you're headed to Baton Rouge, and let's see what happens if Bama can. Real quick, Kev, last chance. Tua playing in the fourth quarter, yes or no?
No.
Yeah, maybe a snap or a series, but not much into the fourth quarter. That's where I feel like it is, but we shall see. All right, guys.
I'm hoping to see a MAC-10 sighting. So
MAC-10, get ready. He'll be holding.
Yep.
All right. That'll do it for this week of Crimson and Blue Chips. Probably gonna go live around the end of the game, barring any unforeseen circumstances. So if you want to hang out tomorrow night, I think we'll have plenty to talk about as Alabama looks to stay undefeated, number 1, and on track for the playoff. That'll do it for this week. crimsonandbluechips.com, at CABC Pod on Twitter. Please subscribe if you're here on YouTube with us. Definitely, please do that. iTunes anywhere you want to consume us, we are available. Thanks for listening, everybody. God bless. Garcia and the crew out.